The galaxy voted to protect humanity from extinction. They realized their mistake the moment humans smiled and said thank you. The emergency beacon lit up every console in the Galactic Preservation Council headquarters at exactly third moonrise, which meant someone, somewhere, had decided that paperwork was more important than sleep. Again, Ambassador Krella of the Zentari Collective dragged her forearms across her face, all of them equally exhausted, and wondered not for the first time why she had accepted this posting. Oh right, the pension, the fantastic, galaxy-spanning retire-to-a-beach moon pension that required her to sit through meetings like this one. The council chamber buzzed with activity, or what passed for activity among species who considered walking quickly to be undignified. Krella slithered into her designated seat, her serpentine lower body coiling beneath her as she surveyed the room. 12 species, 12 different atmospheres being maintained by individual environmental bubbles, 12 different ideas of what constituted an emergency, and apparently today's winner was the Preservation Committee. High Chancellor Mix, a floating gas cloud Etherian, who always sounded like he was gargling marbles, called the session to order. Esteemed delegates, we gather on this cycle to address a matter of utmost urgency. A species stands on the precipice of extinction, and we, as the guardians of galactic biodiversity, must act. Krella perked up. Extinction-level threats were actually serious. Maybe this would not be a waste of time after all. The species in question, Mex continued, his vapor rippling with what Krella assumed was supposed to be gravitas, resides on a Class M world in the Outer Rim territories. They call themselves humans, and they call their world Earth. Wait, what? Krella's translator implant had to be malfunctioning. She tapped it twice. Nope, working fine. I am sorry, she interrupted, raising two of her hands while the other two rapidly typed notes on her datapad. Did you just say humans? The humans? The ones who have been spacefaring for the last 70 orbital cycles? The ones who just established their 4th colony world? Those humans? Counselor Vorn, a Quellix, whose species looked like someone had mixed a bear with an octopus and given up halfway through, stood dramatically. His 6 eyes glistened with what Krella recognized as his trademark theatrical moisture. Ambassador Krella, your skepticism wounds me, but it is understandable. You have not yet reviewed the evidence. Evidence of what exactly? Krella asked, her tail tip twitching with irritation. As Zentari tell that she really needed to control better during these meetings. Evidence, High Chancellor Mex intoned, that humans are a fragile, primitive species engaged in dangerous, self-destructive behaviors that will inevitably lead to their demise. Without our intervention, without protective custody and guidance, they will not survive another century. The words hung in the air like a bad smell. Several delegates nodded solemnly. Krella looked around the chamber waiting for someone to laugh, to acknowledge the obvious absurdity. No one did. You want, Krella said slowly, carefully, making sure her translator was broadcasting correctly, to put humans under protective custody. Humans. The species that weaponized atomic energy before they achieved spaceflight. The ones who list Australian as a dangerous planetary region on their own world. Those humans. Precisely, Vorn said, clearly missing the sarcasm dripping from every word. We have compiled an extensive report detailing the numerous threats to their continued existence, both environmental and self-imposed. The motion before this council is to classify them as an endangered primitive species and relocate suitable populations to preservation habitats where they can be properly monitored and protected. Krella felt all 4 of her hearts sink simultaneously, which was quite an achievement. This was going to be a long cycle. Counselor Vorn activated the holographic display with a flourish that would have made a stage performer jealous. Images of humans flickered to life above the center of the chamber, and Vorn's 6 eyes somehow managed to look even more moist with concern. Observe, he proclaimed, gesturing with 3 of his tentacles while the other 5 clutched a datapad like it contained the secrets of the universe. The human respiratory system. They require an atmosphere of 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. Deviate from this mixture by even a few percentage points and they suffocate. Suffocate. Can you imagine being so delicate? Krella raised one hand. Counselor, most carbon-based species have specific atmospheric requirements. That is basic biology, not fragility. Vorn waved her objection away like it was an annoying insect. But wait, there is more, much more. He advanced to the next slide with the enthusiasm of someone who had spent far too much time preparing this presentation. Their skin. Ambassador, their skin. It has no scales, no exoskeleton, no protective mucus layer. It is just there, exposed, vulnerable to their star's radiation. And do you know what they do about this fatal design flaw? Develop melanin as an evolutionary adaptation, Krella offered. They go outside anyway, Vorn practically shouted. They coat themselves in chemical barriers they call sunscreen, and deliberately expose themselves to the deadly radiation for something they call recreation. They call it tanning. Tanning, they are slowly cooking themselves and they think it is leisure. A few delegates murmured in concern. Krella pinched the bridge of her nose with 2 hands while the other 2 continued taking notes. High Chancellor Mix floated closer to the display. The evidence becomes more disturbing when we examine their nutritional habits. Humans consume a substance called capsaicin, which is literally a chemical defense mechanism plants evolved to prevent being eaten. The human response to ingesting this toxin, which causes pain receptors to activate, is to seek out even stronger concentrations. They rate these toxins on scales. They hold competitions. They also, Vorn added, his voice dropping to a horrified whisper, drink liquids heated to near boiling temperatures, coffee, tea. They burn their mouths regularly and consider this normal. Delegate Thrix, a crystalline lumini who rarely spoke, chimed in with a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. My research indicates humans also consume ethanol, a known poison socially. They call these gatherings parties and appear to measure the success of such events by how much cellular damage they inflict upon themselves. Krella's tail was now twitching so aggressively it was practically typing on her datapad by itself. Okay, I will grant you that human cuisine is adventurous, but this hardly constitutes evidence of a species requiring protective custody. Many species have unusual dietary preferences. But we have not yet discussed their recreation, Vorn said. And Krella swore his eyes were actually producing tears now. The next hollow image showed a human throwing themselves out of an aircraft. This is called skydiving. They jump from perfectly functional flying vessels for entertainment. No purpose, no logic, just the thrill of potential death. Another image. This is called rock climbing. They scale vertical surfaces using only their appendages, often without safety equipment. Another. This is called cave exploration. They voluntarily enter unstable underground systems that could collapse at any moment. This is called swimming with sharks. This is called bungee jumping. This is called parkour. This is called motorcycle racing. The images kept coming, each one showing humans doing something that looked progressively more insane. Do you see the pattern, Ambassador? Vorn asked, his voice heavy with concern. They are a species with a death wish. Self-destructive behavior is embedded in their culture. Without intervention, they will surely eliminate themselves through sheer recklessness. Krella looked at the images, then at the council, then back at the images. Something was not adding up here. A species did not successfully colonize 4 worlds while being suicidally stupid. There had to be more to this story. I would like, she said carefully, to conduct a field investigation before we vote on this measure. The chamber erupted in protests, but Krella's mind was made up. She was going to Earth. The transport shuttle to Earth gave Krella plenty of time to review the Council's reports, and with each passing page her skepticism grew like a particularly aggressive fungus. According to these documents, humans were simultaneously too fragile to survive their own planet and too reckless to be trusted with sharp objects. The contradiction was staggering. She had packed 3 of her best translation matrices, a full diplomatic kit, and enough provisions to last a week, though the report suggested human food would probably kill her anyway. Apparently, everything on Earth was either poisonous, carnivorous, or had too many legs. Sometimes all 3. The shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere, and Krella pressed 2 of her hands against the viewport. The planet was blue, aggressively blue. Oceans covered most of the surface, and according to the reports, humans had decided to build civilizations right next to these massive bodies of water despite regular devastating floods. Of course they had. Landing at the human diplomatic facility in a place called Geneva, Krella was greeted by a human woman in a crisp military uniform. She stood at attention, which Krella recognized from her briefing materials as a sign of respect, though it looked deeply uncomfortable. Ambassador Krella, welcome to Earth. I am Captain Jennifer Ortiz, United Earth Diplomatic Corps. We are honored to host you. The human's mouth curved upward, baring her teeth, which Krella's cultural database assured her was friendly, not threatening. Evolution was weird. Captain Ortiz, thank you for accommodating this visit on such short notice, Krella replied, uncoiling from her transport seat. She noticed Jennifer's eyes widen slightly, probably adjusting to the reality of a 3-meter-long serpentine alien with 4 arms. Fair enough. Not a problem at all, Ambassador. We have prepared a full itinerary based on your requests. Climate-controlled environments, cuisine options that match your biological requirements, and a comprehensive overview of human civilization and achievements. Jennifer gestured toward the facility entrance with practiced efficiency. They walked, or in Krelova's case, slithered, through corridors that were surprisingly well designed for multiple species. I notice your people have extensive experience with xenobiology, Krellova observed. We have been preparing for galactic integration since first contact 70 years ago, Jennifer said. We knew we were not alone, and we figured we should probably not look like complete idiots when the neighbors finally dropped by. That mouth-curved teeth-showing thing again. Smiling. Right. They entered a conference room where a table had been set with various items. Jennifer picked up a cylindrical container. I took the liberty of preparing Earth's most important diplomatic offering. Coffee. Krelova's translator implant practically screamed a warning. Coffee. The mere boiling toxin from the reports. I appreciate the gesture, Captain, but I understand that beverage is quite dangerous. Jennifer paused, the container halfway to her lips. Dangerous? Coffee? I mean, it is hot, but dangerous is a bit much. She took a long drink from the container, maintaining eye contact. Not dead. Interesting. The reports indicate it causes burns and contains multiple toxic compounds, Krella said, watching carefully. Oh. Jennifer laughed, an explosive sound that made Krelova's tail twitch. Yes, it is hot. Yes, it has caffeine. But Ambassador, we have been drinking this for thousands of years. It is basically how we start our mornings. Some of us could not function without it, but that is more addiction than danger. She laughed again. Who wrote these reports? They make us sound like we are trying to kill ourselves with breakfast. Krelova's 4 hands moved to her datapad simultaneously, typing rapidly. Counselor Vorn and his team. Nah. Jennifer said, setting down her coffee with a knowing look. And did Counselor Vorn actually visit Earth? Or did he just watch videos and panic? The pieces were starting to come together and Krella did not like the picture they were forming. Captain Ortiz, I think we need to have a very long conversation about what humans actually do versus what the Council thinks you do. Buckle up, Ambassador, Jennifer said, that teeth-showing smile getting wider. This is going to be fun. The next morning, Jennifer picked up Krella in what humans called a car, which was essentially a metal box on wheels that moved at speeds that should have been illegal. Krella's tail wrapped tightly around the seat as they merged onto something called a highway. So, Ambassador, you mentioned the Council is concerned about our recreational activities, Jennifer said, weaving between other metal boxes with alarming casualness. I figured we would start with the basics and work our way up. Work your way up to what exactly? Krella asked, gripping the door handle with 2 hands while the other 2 clutched her datapad. You will see. They arrived at a facility that Jennifer called a gym. Inside, humans were engaged in various forms of voluntary physical torture. Some were lifting heavy objects repeatedly. Others were running on machines that went nowhere. Still others were hitting suspended bags filled with sand. This is exercise, Jennifer explained. We do this to stay healthy. You already have to move to survive. Why add more movement? Krella asked, watching a human female lift a barbell that had to weigh at least 70 kilograms. The woman's face was red, sweat pouring down, but she was smiling, because our bodies are designed for it. We evolved as persistence hunters, Ambassador. We are built to move, to chase, to endure. If we do not use these bodies, they stop working properly. Jennifer led her to another section where humans were grappling with each other on padded floors. This is martial arts training. Self-defense and sport combined. 2 humans were engaged in what looked like ritualized combat. One swept the other's legs, sending them crashing to the mat. Instead of stopping, they both laughed, stood up and went again. They are attacking each other for fun, Krella said flatly. Controlled sparring. It teaches discipline, respect, and how to fall without breaking anything important. Jennifer waved to one of the practitioners. Mostly, a man with graying hair and shoulders that looked like they could support a small building approached. Captain Ortiz, this must be our guest, Ambassador Krella. Meet Colonel Hayes. He runs our integration training program. Hayes extended his hand and after a moment's hesitation, Krella shook it with one of hers. His grip was firm but not crushing. Controlled strength. Ambassador, pleasure. Jennifer tells me you are here to assess whether we need protection. His mouth did that teeth-showing thing, but his eyes were sharp. I am guessing the Council watched some videos and freaked out. That is an accurate assessment, yes, Krella admitted. Come on, I will show you something. Hayes led them outside where humans were jumping out of aircraft. Again, just like in the council reports. Krella watched as tiny figures plummeted from the sky, colorful parachutes eventually deploying. Skydiving, Hayes said. Perfectly safe when done correctly. Humans have been doing this for over a century. We calculate risks. We use equipment. We train extensively. Yes, it looks insane, but the actual fatality rate is 0.007 per thousand jumps. But why? Krella asked. Why jump out of a functional aircraft? A woman who had just landed jogged over, her face flushed with excitement. She pulled off her helmet, revealing short dark hair. Because it is amazing. The rush, the freedom, the view, nothing else like it. She noticed Krella, and did a small double take. Whoa, cool. Are you the alien ambassador? Dr. Patricia Kim, Xenobiology Division, Hayes introduced. And yes, she thinks we are all suicidal. Not suicidal, Patricia said, laughing. Just adrenaline junkies. See, our bodies produce this chemical when we are in danger. Adrenaline, it makes us faster, stronger, more alert. Some of us like that feeling, so we seek out controlled ways to trigger it. Skydiving, rock climbing, roller coasters, we get the chemical rush without actual danger. Your species deliberately triggers your own fear response for pleasure, Krella said slowly. When you say it like that, it sounds bad, Patricia admitted. But yeah, basically. Not all of us, mind you. Plenty of humans prefer quiet activities, reading, gardening, painting. We are diverse like that. They walked back to the facility, passing the fenced area where several humans were jogging with four-legged creatures. And those are? Krella asked. Dogs, Jennifer said. Domesticated wolves. Essentially, we turned apex predators into companions about 15,000 years ago. You keep predators as pets. We also have cats, which are smaller predators that we let live in our homes. They knock things off tables and we feed them anyway. Jennifer's smile was absolutely shameless now. Of course you do, Krella muttered, all four hands typing frantically. Why would you not keep tiny hunters in your sleeping quarters? That makes perfect sense for a fragile species. Colonel Hayes laughed. A deep rumbling sound. Ambassador, I think you are starting to get it. We are not fragile. We are just insane enough to make it work. Krella was beginning to suspect he was absolutely right. The tour took an unexpected turn when Colonel Hayes received a message on his communication device. He glanced at it, then at Jennifer, who shrugged. Training exercise just started on the North Field. You want to see what humans are really capable of, Ambassador? This is it. Krella followed them to an observation platform overlooking a massive training ground. What she saw made all four of her hearts skip a beat. Not in sequence but simultaneously, which was medically concerning. 50 humans in military gear were running, not jogging, sprinting, full speed, carrying equipment that had to weigh at least 30 kilograms each. They wore heavy boots, helmets, vests with armor plating. They crossed obstacles, climbed walls, crawled under barbed wire. All while instructors shouted at them. Basic conditioning, Hayes said casually, like he was describing a walk in a garden. 20-kilometer run with full gear. They have been going for 90 minutes. 90 minutes? Krella's translator had to be broken again. She tapped it. Nope. Working fine. Your species can maintain that level of exertion for 90 minutes? These are recruits, Ambassador. Still in training. Our special forces can go for hours, days if necessary. Hayes pointed to a group finishing an obstacle course. Humans are endurance predators. Back on the evolutionary chain, we could not outrun our prey in a sprint, so we just followed them until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we ate them. Persistence hunting. Dr. Kim joined them on the platform, still in her jumpsuit from skydiving. It is actually fascinating from a biological standpoint. We have this thing called thermoregulation through sweating. Most species pant to cool down, which means they have to stop running to breathe properly. We sweat, which means we cool down while moving. We can literally run prey animals to death. That is horrifying, Krella said. That is evolution, baby, Patricia replied cheerfully. One of the training groups stopped for a water break. Krella watched as they clustered together, checking on each other, sharing supplies, laughing despite obvious exhaustion. One soldier had twisted an ankle and 3 others immediately supported him, redistributing his gear among themselves without being asked. Pack bonding, Jennifer explained, noticing Krella's attention. Humans are social creatures. We form tight-knit groups, especially in high-stress situations. Military units, sports teams, work crews. We take care of our own, sometimes to irrational extremes. Define irrational extremes, Krella said, though part of her was not sure she wanted to know. Hayes leaned against the railing. There is a saying in human military history: we do not leave anyone behind, not our living, not our wounded, not even our dead. Humans have risked their lives, thrown themselves into enemy fire, gone back into burning buildings, all to retrieve fallen comrades. Logically stupid, emotionally necessary. I once read a report, Patricia added, about a human soldier who carried his wounded friend 15 kilometers through hostile territory. Both of them survived. When asked why he did not leave him and come back with help, he said it never occurred to him as an option. Krella watched the training continue. A wall climbing exercise now. The humans boosted each other up, the stronger ones pulling up the weaker ones. Nobody left struggling alone. Your council reports suggest humans are fragile and self-destructive. I am starting to think the council has significantly misunderstood the situation. We have survival stories that would make your scales fall off, Ambassador. Hayes said. Humans who survived weeks in the ocean, months in the wilderness, years in extreme conditions. We had a guy stuck in Antarctica who performed surgery on himself because there was no one else to do it. We have astronauts who jury-rigged solutions to impossible problems in space using duct tape and pure stubbornness. Duct tape? Krella asked. Adhesive fabric. Fixes everything. We have a saying: if duct tape cannot fix it, you are not using enough duct tape. Jennifer was grinning now. Humans are problem solvers, Ambassador. We look at impossible situations and say, hold my beer, watch this. Hold your beer. The translator was definitely struggling now. It means we do stupid things while our friends watch. Usually works out though. Jennifer checked her datapad. Speaking of survival, want to hear about the time a human fought off a bear with his bare hands to protect his dog? No, Krella said. Too bad. It is a great story. As they walked back to the facility, Krella's mind was racing. The council had not just misunderstood humans. They had gotten it completely backward. These were not fragile beings needing protection. These were survivors, hunter, pack animals with tool-using intelligence and apparently zero sense of self-preservation when their tribe was threatened. The question was not whether humans needed protection. The question was what exactly the council was actually afraid of. Back in the conference room, Jennifer pulled up a holographic timeline that stretched across the entire wall. You want to understand humans, Ambassador? You need to understand our history. Fair warning. It is not pretty. The timeline lit up with conflicts, wars, thousands of them. Krella's tail coiled tighter as the numbers scrolled past. You have been fighting each other for your entire recorded history. Yes, Jennifer said simply. We are really good at it too. But here is the thing. Every single conflict taught us something. Medicine advanced because we needed to save wounded soldiers. Aviation technology exploded because we needed better fighters. Computing, satellite technology, the internet, all came from military research. We are excellent at taking terrible situations and squeezing progress out of them. She zoomed in on a section labeled World War II. 80 years ago, we split the atom, figured out nuclear fission. And what did we do with this incredible scientific breakthrough? Made weapons, Krella said quietly. Made weapons, Jennifer confirmed. 2 of them. Dropped on cities, hundreds of thousands dead in seconds. It was the most horrific thing we had ever done to ourselves. And you know what happened next? We looked at that power, that terrible civilization-ending power, and we said never again. We built treaties, regulations, international oversight. We took that same technology and built power plants, medical devices, research tools. We weaponized the atom and then, mostly, chose not to use it as a weapon again. The timeline jumped forward. 70 years from splitting the atom to establishing our first space colony. Our technological advancement is exponential, Ambassador. We went from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft in barely a century. That is impossibly fast, Krella protested. Most species take millennia to achieve what you are describing. Most species are not us. Jennifer pulled up another image. This is Apollo 13. A spacecraft that suffered catastrophic failure en route to our moon. 3 humans trapped in a dying vessel. Mission control on the ground had 72 hours to invent solutions to problems that had never been solved before. Carbon dioxide scrubbers, power management, trajectory calculations, all done with slide rules and paper because computers back then were the size of room. Those 3 humans made it home alive. Hold my beer, Krella muttered. Exactly, Jennifer laughed. That is the human spirit right there. We see impossible problems as challenges. Some psychologist once said humans are the only species that will look at a mountain and think, I bet I can climb that. Then we climb it because it is there. We went to the moon because it is there. We split the atom because we could. We do things not because they are easy but because they are hard. Krella looked at the timeline, at thousands of years of human stubbornness, creativity, and sheer bloody-minded refusal to quit. The council thinks you need protection. From what? Jennifer asked. Ourselves? Been there working on that. From the galaxy? She smiled, but this time it was not entirely friendly. Ambassador, we have been ready for hostile contact since we figured out we were not alone. We really hope it does not come to that. But if it does, she gestured to the timeline, we will handle it. The emergency council session Krella called was even more packed than the last one. Word had spread that she had actually gone to Earth, which apparently was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid depending on who you ask. High Chancellor Mix floated at his position, his gaseous form swirling with what Krella now recognized as irritation. Ambassador Krella, you have requested this session to present your findings regarding the human situation. The floor is yours. Krella activated her presentation with all four hands simultaneously, a Zantari power move that made several delegates sit up straighter. Esteemed colleagues, I have spent the last week on Earth conducting a thorough investigation into human capabilities, culture, and threat assessment. My findings are conclusive. She paused for effect. The Council's reports are not just wrong, they are backwards. Muttering erupted. Councillor Vorn's 6 eyes widened in what looked like genuine distress. Ambassador, surely you cannot mean humans do not need our protection, Krella said, her voice cutting through the noise. We need protection from them, and this entire preservation proposal is a thinly veiled attempt to contain a species that frankly terrifies half this council. That is preposterous, Vorn shouted, rising from his seat with all his tentacles flailing. We are acting in good faith for the preservation of what, Councillor? Your political comfort. Krella pulled up footage from Earth. Humans training, humans problem solving, humans thriving in conditions that would kill most species in the council. You presented humans as fragile because they need specific atmospheres. So does every species here. You called them reckless, because they enjoy adrenaline-inducing activities. That is recreation, not suicide. You claimed they eat toxins. No, they have adapted to consume a wider variety of nutrients than almost any species in known space. Delegate Thrix chimed in, their crystalline voice sharp. The humans have nuclear weapons, Ambassador. Thousands of them. They nearly destroyed themselves with that technology. Nearly, Krella emphasized. But they did not. They pulled back from the brink and established treaties. They chose cooperation over annihilation. Can every species in this chamber say the same? She let that question hang in the air. Humans went from pre-industrial to spacefaring in 300 years. They have established 4 colony worlds in less than a century. Their population growth is stable but strong. They are expanding, learning and adapting faster than any species in galactic record. High Chancellor Mix's form darkened. And this does not concern you, Ambassador. It concerns me greatly, Chancellor, but not because they need protection. Krella looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes and sensory organs as she could. It concerns me because this council looked at a young, vigorous, ambitious species and decided the best course of action was to cage them like animals before they became too strong to control. This is not about preservation. This is about fear. How dare you, Vorn breathed. No, Councillor, Krella said quietly. How dare you? How dare this council abuse its authority to justify what amounts to preemptive imprisonment of an entire species because you are afraid of competition? The chamber exploded into arguments, but Krella's point had landed. The truth was out. Krella let the chaos simmer for exactly 30 seconds before slamming 2 of her hands on the podium. The sharp crack echoed through the chamber, and the arguing died down to angry muttering. If I may continue, she said, her tone dripping with enough sarcasm to corrode metal. I have prepared a point-by-point response to the Preservation Committee's concerns, and I promise you, this will be educational for everyone involved. She pulled up Vorn's original presentation, his dramatic images of human activities frozen in holographic glory. Point 1. Humans require a specific atmospheric mixture. Devastating. Truly. I suppose we should also put the Methrian Collective under protective custody because they need methane. Oh wait, we do not, because that is how biology works. Next, several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Krella was just getting started. Point 2. Humans consume toxins recreationally. Capsaicin, caffeine, alcohol. Yes, they do. They also have livers, kidneys, and metabolic systems that process these compounds efficiently. The Valkorian Empire literally breathes sulfur dioxide, which would kill most of us instantly, but I do not see anyone suggesting we relocate them to a nice safe habitat. Her tail twitched with barely contained annoyance. Next, point 3. Humans engage in dangerous recreational activities. Skydiving, rock climbing, extreme sports. Krella pulled up footage of the Galactic Games, the annual competition between species. Remind me, Counselor Vorn, how many species participate in zero-gravity combat tournaments? How many engage in suborbital racing? How many practice ritual combat sports? Oh right, nearly all of them, but somehow when humans do it, it is evidence of self-destructive tendencies. Curious. Chancellor Mex tried to interject. Ambassador, your tone is appropriate, Chancellor, given the circumstances. Krella advanced to the next slide. Point 4, and this is my personal favorite. Humans keep predators as pets, dogs and cats, domesticated from wolves and wild felines respectively. You know what else humans did? They domesticated themselves. They took a persistence hunting pack species with tribal warfare tendencies and built a global civilization. They went from throwing spears to splitting atoms in 10,000 years. The dogs and cats are honestly the least impressive thing they have domesticated. Delegate Thrick spoke up, their voice measured. Ambassador, you cannot deny that humans possess destabilizing military capabilities. Their nuclear arsenal alone is completely under control and has been for 80 years, Krella interrupted. Yes, they built doomsday weapons. Yes, they came terrifyingly close to using them, and then they stopped. They negotiated, they compromised, they chose survival over victory. How many species in this council can claim they showed that kind of restraint when they first developed planet-killing technology? She looked around the chamber. By my count, three species, including humans, who developed such weapons and then voluntarily limited their deployment. The rest of you either never developed them or had to be forcibly disarmed by external intervention. The chamber was dead silent now, but here is the truly fascinating part. Krella continued, her voice dropping to something almost conversational. While you have all been debating how to protect humans from themselves, do you know what humans have actually been doing? Protecting you from yourselves. She pulled up a star chart. Sector 7. Mining dispute between the Quelix Dominion and the Mithrian Collective. 3 years ago. Humans mediated. Sector 12. Trade route. Piracy. Human patrol ships shut it down. Station Outpost Kepler. Medical quarantine breach. Human doctors contained it. The examples kept coming. Humans have been acting as peacekeepers, mediators, and emergency responders across a dozen sectors, and half of you did not even notice because you were too busy being afraid of them. Counselor Vorn had gone very quiet, his tentacles drooping. The truth, Krella said, is that humans are not the fragile, self-destructive primitives you want them to be. They are adaptable, resilient, and frankly more emotionally mature than this council is giving them credit for. You are not afraid they will destroy themselves. You are afraid they will outpace you, outthink you, and make you irrelevant. And rather than compete, rather than adapt, you decided to cage them first. The chamber doors opened, and Captain Jennifer Ortiz walked in, flanked by Colonel Hayes and Dr. Patricia Kim. Jennifer's uniform was crisp, her posture military perfect, but her smile was pure diplomatic charm. Esteemed Council, Jennifer said, her voice carrying effortlessly. Ambassador Krella has been more than fair in her assessment. We understand that humanity's rapid development is concerning. We understand that our methods seem reckless to species with longer histories, but we are here, we are not going anywhere, and we would much rather be your partners than your problem. She activated her own datapad and an invitation appeared on every delegate's screen. Earth extends an open invitation to every member of this council. Come visit, meet us, see what we are actually like instead of relying on surveillance footage and panicked reports. We are not perfect, we are loud, we are messy, and yes, we do keep predators as pets, but we are also loyal, creative, and we do not give up. Ever. Those traits could be assets to the galactic community if you let them. High Chancellor Mix floated in silence for a long moment. Finally, his vapor swirled in what the translator interpreted as a sigh. The motion to classify humans as an endangered species requiring protective custody is hereby withdrawn. Further motions regarding humanity's status will be tabled pending broader cultural exchange and diplomatic review. Vorn slumped in his seat, all 6 eyes closed in what might have been shame or exhaustion. Krella almost felt bad for him. Almost. As the session adjourned and delegates filed out, many muttering to each other, Jennifer approached Krella. "Thank you, Ambassador. That took guts. It took basic observation skills and a functioning brain," Krella replied, but her tone was warm. "Though I admit your species does make it challenging to remain objective. You are all completely insane." "We prefer the term ambitious," Jennifer said with that teeth-showing smile. 3 months later, Krella stood in the council chambers again, this time presenting the results of the cultural exchange program. 15 delegates had visited Earth. 12 had returned with favorable reports. 2 had adopted human pets. 1 had taken up skydiving and would not shut up about it. The motion on the floor now was not about protecting humans. It was about establishing a joint defense initiative. Because as it turned out, there were actual threats in the galaxy, and having humans on your side when trouble came knocking was significantly better than having them as reluctant prisoners. Krella looked at the vote tallies with all 4 hands clasped in satisfaction. The humans had not just avoided being caged. They had become essential. She glanced at her personal data pad, where Jennifer had sent her a message with a video attachment. It showed a human child, no more than 5 Earth years old, confidently approaching a group of alien visitors at a cultural exchange event. The child looked up at a towering Velcoran, smiled and said, "You look scary, but I bet you are nice. Want to see my drawings?" The Velcoran, a species known for their aggressive territoriality and formal diplomatic protocols, had bent down and spent 20 minutes looking at crayon drawings of spaceships and dogs. That, Krella thought, was humanity in a nutshell. They looked at the galaxy's monsters and said, "I bet you are nice." And somehow, impossibly, they were usually right. She filed her final report with a single recommendation: do not try to contain humans. You will fail, they will resent you, and honestly, you will look stupid. Instead, point them at problems and get out of their way. They will either solve it or die trying, and smart money was on solving it. As for who needed protection in this galaxy, after 3 months of observation, cultural exchange, and watching humans turn potential adversaries into friends through sheer stubborn friendliness, Krella was fairly certain the answer was everyone else. The council had asked if humans needed protection. The real question, the one nobody wanted to ask out loud, was simpler and far more terrifying. Who was going to protect the galaxy from humanity's aggressively optimistic belief that every problem was solvable, every enemy could become a friend, and every impossible challenge was just an opportunity they had not figured out yet? Krella poured herself a cup of coffee, that near-boiling toxin she had somehow become addicted to during her Earth visit, and smiled. The galaxy was about to get a lot more interesting, and she had a front-row seat. Somewhere on Earth, she knew, a human was probably doing something inadvisable, dangerous, or both, and calling it fun. The thought should have been terrifying. Instead, inexplicably, it was comforting. Humans. Absolutely insane. Somehow, that was exactly what the galaxy needed.